Cassandra shouted, eyes raking Layla from head to toe. The woman the billionaire threw away. The useless ex-wife, a freeloader with nothing to boast about except the poverty and shame she came from. You never belonged in the world of the rich. Her laugh rang crisp, blending with the murmurs of the guests. And now you even dare show up at my wedding. For what? To remind everyone you're nothing? You're an embarrassment. But before Cassandra could step closer, the doors swung open. Layla walked in, carrying 3 things that silenced the grand hall. Inside the largest ballroom of a 5-star hotel in Manhattan, the guests were nearly deafened by the hush that followed the soft, classical strings. Every chandelier glittered, while the lights traced the red carpet rolled from the entrance to the altar like a stage. The room bloomed with extravagant flowers, white and red roses, imported tulips, orchids that flashed like jewels. Perfect, whispered an older lady guest as she snapped photos of the room. Nothing will outdo this wedding. Of course not. Adrian Vaughn was a billionaire. Up front sat people from the richest families, politicians, moguls, celebrities, there not only to celebrate, but to witness the most awaited social event of the year. The bride, Cassandra Montclair, was upstairs in a private suite, phone in hand, watching the ballroom via live camera feed. Make sure she's there, she ordered coldly to a staffer standing aside. Yes, ma'am, Cassandra, he replied with a slight bow. I want her seated in front. Cassandra's smile curled. I want everyone to see how pathetic she looks in this scene. She forced her nerves behind her grin. For her, winning Adrian wasn't enough. She had to prove to everyone, especially to Layla, that she was now queen of Adrian's world. Meanwhile, a commotion rippled through the other side of the ballroom as more guests arrived. A few reporters snuck photos despite the ban. Gossip flickered from lip to lip. She used to be the wife, one whispered. But look at the bride now. Another level, hissed another. Cassandra's from the Montclair old money set. While everyone buzzed, Adrian Vaughn stood beside the altar. He wore a white tuxedo, simple yet elegant, and he carried himself like a king awaiting his queen. Yet behind his composed face lingered fatigue and sadness that most failed to notice. His best man leaned in and murmured, You ready, Adrian? He nodded, though unsure. Yes, no turning back. The quiet moment snapped as a new whisper ran the length of the hall. From the door, someone was coming, heads turned as one to the end of the red carpet. Is that Layla? A woman breathed. I can't believe it. Impossible. Why is she here? The person beside her shot back. The figure had not yet fully appeared, but it was obvious. Whoever approached was about to change the course of the ceremony. Behind the curtain, Cassandra smirked. There she is, the discarded woman. Now everyone will see how pitiful she is. What she didn't know was that the humiliation she designed would be the very start of the collapse of every illusion she'd built. The music thinned, as if sensing a storm. The red carpet meant for Cassandra now waited for a scene no one inside could control. Each second thickened the air. Guests fidgeted. A few prominent figures loosened necklaces, fanned themselves, whispered behind hands. Some braced for scandal. If that really is Layla, a gentleman murmured, this wedding will be more colorful than all the rest. At the altar, Adrian stilled, as if he sensed the perfect image crafted for him was about to shatter. His pulse pounded, but he forced himself to stand firm. In his mind, memories surged. The nights with Layla, the laughter, the dreams they built before the lies came. He drove them away and clung to the quiet of the present. You ready? Another friend whispered. He nodded, unable to speak. The doors blew open. A cool draft swept the ballroom. Every gaze locked onto the red carpet. What was meant to be the symbol of a bright beginning had become a stage for a battle no one expected. And so began the story that would change everyone there. The ballroom fell into a hush. Moments ago, guests had joked and marveled at the lavish decor. Now the air changed the instant the doors opened. Layla entered slowly. She wore a gown of gold and silver, more elegant than Cassandra's. The fabric sparkled beneath the chandeliers. Every step seemed designed to mark her presence. Her face, without the heavy makeup favored by the social set, shone with natural beauty and dignity. She stood without fear or hesitation, a woman who knew her worth. But beyond her bearing, she was not alone. 3 children came with her, silent, 2 boys and a girl, in tiny suits and a cream dress, disciplined, their small hands holding Layla's. Each child carried a presence that was anything but ordinary. Most striking of all, their resemblance to the groom, Adrian, was unmistakable. The whispers spread like wildfire. "Are those his kids? He looks like their father, doesn't he? The likeness is uncanny." Some guests gasped, others covered their mouths. The wedding that should have been serene and elegant suddenly became a grand spectacle of intrigue. Adrian, standing at the altar, felt the sky and earth crash upon him. His eyes widened. He staggered a step back. He didn't know where to look. Inside, memories flashed. Moments with Layla, nights of tenderness, promises he'd turned his back on. "No," he whispered, barely audible. But he knew in his bones that not everything Cassandra had told him was true. Cassandra forced a thin smile, trying to calm herself, even as her face paled and tightened. She clutched Adrian's arm, but he pulled away. Layla kept walking. Time slowed, all eyes fixed on her. The only sound was her heels on the marble floor. She reached the center of the hall, and then the unthinkable happened. The little boy, 5 years old, raised his face, stared straight at Adrian, and asked in a clear, innocent voice, "Daddy, why is there another woman beside you?" Music died. The violinist froze. The choir fell speechless. Cameras clicked. Those invited knew this was the moment no one should miss. Adrian clutched his chest, heart pounding wildly. He stared at the boy and, for a flicker of time, saw only himself as a child. The eyes, the jawline, even the stance. A mirror of his blood. He remembered Cassandra's words. "Layla is gone. She has no children. I'm the only one who can give you a family." Now, before the 3 children, the lie stood naked. Cassandra's face drained of color. She cracked the silence. "They're not Adrian's kids. They're someone else's," she shouted, pointing at Layla. "Look at her. She's here to make a scene and ruin our wedding." No one listened. The murmurs swelled. The resemblance was undeniable. Why were they hidden? What kind of scandal was this? Layla said nothing. Her gaze rested on Adrian. She didn't need to speak. The children were evidence enough. The little girl, the youngest of the triplets, clutched a small teddy bear and whispered, just loud enough for all to hear, "Daddy, we thought you weren't coming." The world flipped for Adrian. This wasn't suspicion, not illusion. It was the truth, and he had been deceived, not by Layla, but by Cassandra. His chest tightened. His eyes darkened with rage and regret. He looked at Cassandra, and for the first time, saw the lie behind her smile. "Cassandra," he said, voice low but hard, "you lied." Her eyes flew wide. "No, Adrian. Don't believe that woman. She's a drifter, desperate. Those aren't your children." But no one believed her. Even the sponsors who had been smiling beside the bride and groom now stared at Cassandra with anger and judgment. Adrian couldn't yet say all he felt, but he knew the truth. Long before this wedding exploded, it had roots. Before Cassandra entered their lives, Adrian's trust in Layla had been whole. In the garden of their mansion, staff often saw the two laughing together, planning the future, looking back on humble beginnings. "Adrian," Layla had murmured once, head on his shoulder, "even if you weren't a billionaire, I'd choose you every day." Adrian had smiled, squeezing his wife's hand. "And you're the only dream I have." Then Cassandra Montclair arrived. At first, she was just a close friend of the family, always present at business gatherings, ever willing to help. She moved carefully, never aggressive, always appearing naturally concerned, and that was how she planted poison. One night after a fundraising gala, she approached Adrian, who was busy tending to guests. "Adrian," she whispered, "did you notice Layla earlier?" Adrian frowned. "Why? Is there a problem?" "Not really," Cassandra smiled, but her eyes glittered with secrets. "She seemed awfully close to Dr. Marcus. They talk a lot, spend time together. Shouldn't it be you by her side, not another man?" Adrian shrugged. "They're friends. Marcus is like a brother to me. We've been inseparable since we were kids." Cassandra smiled softly. "Of course. It's just, sometimes even the closest people make mistakes. I hope I'm wrong." He wasn't swayed then, but the tiniest seed of doubt took root. Weeks passed. Cassandra grew bolder. She was always nearby whenever Layla and Marcus were around. She made sure to comment on things that would etch themselves into Adrian's mind. "Adrian, did you see?" Layla stopped by Marcus's office for a checkup. "Why did it take so long?" "He's a doctor," Adrian said coolly. "Of course it took time." "A doctor, yes, but isn't this a bit personal?" Cassandra sighed. "I hate to think something's wrong, but if it is..." Dot by dot, Cassandra connected nothing into a picture of betrayal. Adrian began to see an apparition of infidelity where no evidence existed. One night, Layla came home exhausted, prescription in hand from Marcus for a simple cold. When Adrian saw it, anger flared. "Why are you always going to Marcus?" His voice was tight. Layla stared. "What?" "Adrian, I was sick. He's a doctor. That's normal." "Normal to stay with him longer than with me?" He cut in, voice turned cold. Layla could barely believe it. "Love, that's not what happened. He's your friend. I only see you." But Cassandra's whispers rang louder in Adrian's head. "Isn't it suspicious? Aren't they hiding something?" He began to distance himself. Cassandra was always there when the couple fought, offering friendly counsel. "I'm sorry, Adrian," she would say. "I just don't want your family to break. But as your friend, it hurts to see you being deceived." She spoke as if blameless, but this was her design, to fracture Adrian's trust in Layla and slide into the space that opened. Adrian Vaughn wasn't a mushroom that sprang into wealth overnight. The blood of fortune flowed from his father. Mr. Severin Vaughn was a real estate king across the country. In every corner of New York, you could find a skyscraper, a mall, a community bearing the name Vaughn Holdings. As a boy, Adrian watched his father forge an empire. Business never slept. Every decision was chess. Expectations weighed heavy on the eldest son. While other children played with toy cars, he accompanied his father on site visits. Instead of bedtime fairy tales, he read blueprints and contracts. He learned early that wealth wasn't just money, it was power, respect, responsibility. He grew serious, seldom smiled, always busy. He studied business management at Harvard, sharpening his mind further. Modern investing, stock markets, foreign capital. Returning to the United States with new ideas, he accelerated the company's growth. From his father's hands, leadership passed to his. In 5 years, the company's assets doubled. Barren plots became high-end communities and commercial hubs. Old buildings were transformed into hotels visited by tourists. People spoke of Adrian not just as an heir, but a multiplier. With success came attention, politicians seeking campaign funds, businessmen wanting to ride his investments, women willing to trade themselves for favors or contracts. Enter Cassandra Montclair. She wasn't a lightweight, the daughter of a former diplomat, educated, fluent in society. At a charity gala, she saw how Adrian stood, tall, serious, unwilling to waste time on idle talk. "Mr. Vaughan, right?" "I'm Cassandra," she said with a confident smile, extending her hand. Adrian wasn't used to women so direct and self-assured. Most who approached him obviously wanted his wealth. Cassandra played differently. She hid her motives. She used brains and beauty to slip into Adrian's world, first as a friend, always present at business events, always with an opinion on stocks and real estate, always quick to praise his decisions. "You know," she whispered once as they stood on a balcony at a hotel opening, "your call to develop that Westchester land was brave. Everyone else hesitated, but you had vision. Now they all want in." Adrian actually smiled, that rare moment when people saw he wasn't stone. Every day, Cassandra carved deeper into his life. She was not just pretty, she praised at the right time, offered suggestions as if simply concerned, and showed affection where he lacked it. He learned to trust her. He brought her to meetings, introduced her to partners, and eventually to his mother, Mrs. Hope Vaughan. Tension rose. Mrs. Hope remained courteous but unconvinced. She knew women who wore masks. Even as a girl, she'd watched them circle her late husband. Love mixed with interest turns to poison. Adrian was blind to the signs. In his mind, Cassandra was a partner, not just in business, but in life. He gave her a consulting seat on the board. Many questioned it. She wasn't family. But Adrian himself backed the decision, and no one dared oppose him. Cassandra's influence deepened. Every project, every gala. There she was. The night Layla left the Vaughan mansion was cold. She didn't slink away defeated. She left with her dignity, her 3 children, and the name of the family she'd been born into. Well known in society. The Montgomerys had their own fashion and real estate businesses, not as vast as the Vaughan empire, but enough that she would never be pitiful. As her car rolled out of the gated community, she glanced at the rearview mirror. Her 3 children slept soundly, innocent, unaware that this night she was severed from their father. "My children," she whispered, "I'm not taking you away from love. I'm taking you away from lies. One day you'll know the truth." She remembered their last night. "I'm done with your lies, Layla," Adrian had shouted. "Adrian, I'm not lying," she cried. "I'm your wife." "I've been with you from the start. Why believe others over me?" "You're always with Marcus. What do you think? That I'm blind?" She trembled. "If that's what you believe, there's nothing I can do. But know this, in my heart, you're the only one I've ever loved," and that ended their marriage. She didn't hide in a dingy apartment as many assumed. She returned to her own penthouse in Midtown Manhattan, property of her family. There she raised the children with security and comfort. "Mum, where's Daddy?" her eldest daughter asked one day. She breathed deep and smiled. "Daddy's busy with work. One day you'll see him." "Why doesn't he live here?" one of the boys asked. She embraced them. "There are things you don't need to know yet. But remember, my love never left you." She did not break. She pushed harder. Using her family's connections and her own knowledge, she expanded Montgomery Enterprises. She personally ran the fashion line. With her taste and skill, their brand rose in the US and abroad. When she returned to the social scene years later, many were shocked. They thought she'd vanished after Adrian left her. The truth, she soared higher. Once seen only as a Vaughn wife, she was now Layla Montgomery, independent, intelligent, elegant, successful. Yet her greatest treasure, her 3 children, she hid. If Cassandra learned about Adrian's true heirs, she would use them. So despite her rising star, she kept their identities secret. "Mom, why don't you tell everyone that Daddy is our dad?" the eldest asked at their private school. She smiled sadly. "Sometimes truth isn't safe. When the time is right, the world will know. For now, it's enough that you know who you are." At night, when the children slept, Layla sat on the penthouse veranda, city lights shimmering below, and vowed, "I won't let you look pitiful. I won't beg from Adrian or anyone. I'll raise our name with my own hands, and one day they'll see. The woman they threw away cannot be stepped on." Her new chapter began, not as the Vaughn's wife, but as a Montgomery who would fight for her children and her honor. The Vaughn mansion's garden lay quiet that night. By the fountain's lights sat Mrs. Hope Vaughn, teacup in hand. She had lived long in business and politics, seasoned in intrigue and the women who chased her son. Only one truth ever convinced her: the heart, Layla's. She remembered the early years. Layla had wanted a simple wedding, no grand reception, no massive ring. "As long as it's you, Adrian," she'd laughed, "a simple home is enough." That pure love etched itself in Mrs. Hope's chest. Cassandra's entrance chilled everything. Adrian grew colder. Mrs. Hope saw him drift from Layla. She tried to speak to her son. "Adrian, I know your wife. She's not that kind of woman. Be careful with Cassandra." Adrian only shook his head. "Mum, you don't see what I see." "I can't take Layla's lies." Mrs. Hope realized the poison had sunk deep. Even as his mother, she could do nothing but watch the marriage crumble. One day, Layla came to her door, crying, carrying 3 newborns. Mrs. Hope embraced her at once. "Mrs. Vaughn, I can't anymore. He won't listen, and I don't want Cassandra to know we have children." Mrs. Hope knelt, tears in her eyes, and looked at the babies, 2 boys and a girl. Even as infants, the resemblance couldn't be denied. "They're my grandchildren," she said fiercely, "and as their grandmother, I will protect them." From then on, she met Layla in secret. While people thought she was only visiting Vaughn offices, she also slipped into Layla's penthouse. Quietly, she provided extra security, tutors for the children, and sometimes financial support, not because Layla lacked money, but to ensure Cassandra's hand never reached her grandchildren. "Grandma!" The children squealed one evening as Mrs. Hope arrived with toys. She hugged them, overflowing with joy. "You don't know how precious you are. Even if you don't know your father yet, Vaughn blood runs in you. Remember, you are not ordinary." Layla stayed quiet. Hiding the kids was hard, but the family matriarch was on her side. "I didn't hide them to steal the Vaughn name," Layla said. "I hid them so Cassandra couldn't play with them." "You're right," Mrs. Hope took her hand. "For now we keep it quiet. When the time is right, the world must know who they are." Over the years, Grandma became a second mother, bringing books, telling the family's history, but she always repeated, true wealth isn't the name or money. It's honesty and love. That's what you inherited from your mom. "Grandma, why isn't Daddy here?" one of the boys asked. Tears pricked her eyes, but she smiled. "He's mistaken right now." "That doesn't mean you're not important. One day he'll return, and when he does, I'll tell him he was wrong." As the children grew, Mrs. Hope's fear also grew that Cassandra would discover the truth. She warned Layla, "Prepare yourself. We can't hide them forever. As they grow, They look more like Adrian. I know, Layla said, voice steady. As long as I can, I'll keep them far from the mess. Deep in Mrs. Hope's heart lived the secret hope that one day she'd see her son, Layla, and the grandchildren together, whole and safe. As Adrian and Cassandra's wedding approached, she grew restless. The truth was close. Her son looked tired, but still failed to see the lie. On the night before the wedding, she prayed, God, save my grandchildren. Don't let them fall into the hands of a woman full of deceit. She knew the time was near when silence would no longer be possible. In a private coffee shop in Midtown, Cassandra sat at the best table, sunglasses on even at night. Across from her were two women, long known in the social circle, Veronica and Lynn, glossy on the outside, desperation peeking through the designer bags and borrowed diamonds, climbers by any means. Cass, you said you had a new plan, Veronica asked, tinkering with a bracelet that was clearly on loan. A plan? Not just a plan. Cassandra arched a brow. This one will finish Layla for good. No one will believe her, not even Adrian. Celine chuckled with bite. I've been annoyed at that woman forever. People always praise her, kind, beautiful, simple, lucky that Adrian married her. But now you're the bride, Cass. Time to end her. They clinked their wine glasses like dark queens plotting. From the start, Veronica and Lynn had been Cassandra's arms and legs. They invented stories about Layla. They secretly snapped photos of Layla and Dr. Marcus at the hospital, actually just simple checkups, but framed and captioned to suggest an affair. Lynn, make sure those photos reach the right mouths, Cassandra ordered. Got it, Lynn said quickly. I know the gossip hounds who feed the media. Veronica forged evidence, documents and stories to support the rumors. Pictures aren't enough, she said, while editing an email to suggest Layla and Marcus had checked into a resort. We need allegations with weight. Each fake story chipped away at Adrian's trust. No one knew Veronica and Lynn were behind it all. One night they met in a private villa. Veronica brought an envelope stuffed with photos. Cass, look! Perfect shot. Marcus holding Layla's arm as they leave the hospital. Good. Cassandra smirked. We'll stick it to the story that they're involved. No one will believe he's just a doctor. They laughed like crows circling carrion. Their scheme didn't end with photos. Veronica and Lynn designed an exquisite humiliation for the wedding day itself. Invite Layla, Lynn suggested. Make sure she's seated up front. Let everyone see how low she is. Not enough, Veronica said. It will hit harder if she walks in carrying the kids. Imagine the impact when the secret drops right at the wedding. Cassandra's grin spread. Exactly. I'll let her walk into her own trap. Society called them the inseparables. Cassandra, Veronica, Lynn, fixtures at parties, fashion shows, galas. But their bond was not friendship. It was envy, ambition, and the willingness to trample anyone to climb. Veronica, Celine, Cassandra said, as they strode out of the coffee shop. When we win, I'm not just queen. You'll benefit too. When I secure Adrian, you won't be mere guests in society. You'll be the inner circle of the new Mrs. Vaughn. Their conspiracy hardened. Yet sometimes their true selves slipped. Cass, Celine asked one night, aren't you scared this will all blow back on you? What if Adrian finds out we're behind the rumors? Cassandra's smile was ice. He won't. In his eyes, I'm the only woman who truly loves him. Once I have his name and fortune, whatever truth comes out will be too late. I'll already be queen. Veronica laughed softly. She's right, Lynn. Win first. Truth can be buried with money and influence. They dug their own grave without seeing it. Witnesses watched, waiting for the right moment to reveal everything. But the three didn't care. They thought they controlled the fates of Adrian, Layla, and even 3 innocent children. As the wedding drew near, their laughter grew louder, 3 crows circling a body, eager to feast. Months after Adrian left her, Layla poured herself into her children and a new direction. She didn't run back to her family's mansion. Although the Montgomerys were wealthy, she wanted to prove she could stand on her own, not merely as a Montgomery daughter, but as Layla, a woman who knows how to fight and rise from a broken heart. That was when she met Mr. Raphael Alcott, a tycoon famed not only for business, but for his sharp eye for talent. They first crossed paths at a business forum where Layla, a newcomer to the industry, presented her ideas on sustainable fashion. "Ms. Montgomery," Mr. Alcott approached afterward, "I didn't expect this kind of skill from a prominent family's daughter. I assumed you were just social." Layla smiled with a sliver of confidence. "I didn't come to show off. I came to prove we can change an industry addicted to imitation." He liked her courage and vision. He mentored her, how to read markets, negotiate, and above all, how to stand steady against powerful enemies. The start was hard. Though she had capital from her family, she chose to begin small, opening a boutique in Manhattan, selling gowns she designed herself. The social set sneered. "Adrian Vaughan's ex-wife, just a boutique owner. She must want attention again." She didn't flinch. She manned the shop, spoke to customers, ran fashion events. At night, exhausted, she still cared for her children, ensuring everything was right for them. One evening, as she sketched designs, her eldest asked, "Mum, why aren't you sleeping?" "It's dark." She squeezed her daughter's hand. "This is for you. I want to show you that one day we'll be happy even without your dad here." In 3 years, the business grew. Magazines noticed her style, elegant yet practical. Orders came from abroad. She became one of the women entrepreneurs to watch. Guided by Mr. Alcott, she invested in real estate too, buying land in Westchester County and the Hamptons, and developing eco-friendly communities that quickly attracted families fleeing the city. "Layla, remember," Mr. Alcott said as they inspected a property, "true success isn't just profit. It's how many people you help." She smiled. "I believe that too. I want my children to see that business isn't just about getting rich. It's about doing good." As her company grew, she rose from the pain Adrian left. She didn't forget. When she saw news of Adrian and Cassandra's engagement, Cassandra wore a diamond necklace Layla had once seen in Adrian's drawer, a gift that should have been hers. Layla's smile turned thin. "If that's your version of success, Adrian, fine. You don't know it yet, but I'll be your fiercest rival." By year 5, she was no longer just a boutique owner. She was CEO of Montgomery Deluxe, known for fashion and real estate. Business magazines often placed her name beside Adrian's. Vaughan versus Montgomery, 2 giants of real estate. Layla smiled at a headline. "I'm not the discarded ex-wife anymore. I'm the woman you can't avoid." No matter her success, she kept the children hidden. At events, she left them home. If Cassandra learned of them, she'd ruin everything. At dinner with Mr. Alcott, Layla admitted, "Sometimes I want to shout to the world that they're Adrian's." "Not yet," he said. "When the time comes, be unassailable. Build your foundation, then they can't knock you down." She nodded. He was right. Through every storm, one person never left Layla's side. Dr. Marcus Demers. He and Adrian had been best friends since childhood. The same private school, the same basketball team, separate paths later. Business for Adrian, medicine for Marcus. Their friendship held until Cassandra arrived. When Adrian's trust in Layla crumbled, Marcus witnessed how she broke. "What did I do wrong?" Layla wept in his clinic. "I love him. Why believe others over me?" Marcus gripped her shoulder. "You did nothing wrong. Others lied, and he believed them. You don't have to prove truth to everyone. One day it will come out." When Layla was pregnant, Marcus oversaw every checkup, not because of an affair, but because he was a doctor and a friend. He refused to abandon the woman his best friend should have cherished. When Layla gave birth, Marcus was the first to hold the boys and the girl. "They're healthy," he grinned, wiping Layla's brow. "And you're a brave mother." Outside that room, a different picture spread. With Cassandra, Veronica, and Lynn's help, photos from the hospital circulated. Marcus holding Layla's hand in labor, Marcus lifting the babies, Layla smiling beside him. When Adrian saw them, he burned. "I don't need explanations," he'd said coldly. "Everything's clear." That sparked the end. Even years later, Marcus never left Layla and the kids. He visited often with vitamins and toys. "Uncle Marcus!" the twins squealed. "What did you bring?" He pulled out a box of building blocks. "Future engineers. Start building your own world." The kids beamed, and Layla breathed a little easier. She never saw Marcus as the children's father, but she knew they had found a second pillar, someone who would defend them. Still, Marcus felt the weight. One night over coffee on the veranda, he asked, "How long will you keep them from Adrian?" "As long as I can," Layla sighed. "I won't let Cassandra use them. If she knew, she'd harm them with intrigue and lies." "You're right," he said, "but they deserve to know their father. The truth will outrun us someday." Layla looked over the city lights. He was right, but for now, safety came first. The kids grew closer to Marcus, their Uncle Doc. When they were sick, he came. At school plays, when Layla was busy, he showed up. Once, one of the twins asked, "Uncle Doc, are you our daddy?" Marcus froze. He glanced at Layla. She smiled and shook her head. "No, sweetheart," Layla said, stroking the child's hair. "Uncle's our friend. He's always here to help, but he isn't your daddy." The boy shrugged and ran back to play, but in Marcus's heart his resolve hardened. He would guard Layla's family, even if it wasn't his. Meanwhile, Cassandra kept pushing the lie of a Marcus-Layla affair. "Adrian," she whispered, gripping his arm, "haven't you noticed? Marcus is always there. Can't you see she's using you?" Adrian stared into the distance, silent, unsure what to believe. Marcus knew a day would come when he had to stand up, not for himself, but for Layla and the true heirs to the Vaughn name. "Layla," he said quietly over dinner one night, "when the time is right, I'll face Adrian myself. I'll tell him the truth, not for me, but for you and your kids." Layla's eyes filled with gratitude. "Thank you, Marcus. I know I'm not alone." In a private room at a lake house in the Hamptons, 3 people met in secret. The night was quiet, wind brushing the pines, the scent of fresh coffee in the air. Mrs. Hope, in her favorite shawl, sat at the center of a long sofa. To her right, Dr. Marcus laid folders on the table. To her left, Mr. Raphael Alcott opened his laptop, face serious. "I can't rest," Mrs. Hope sighed. "Every day I see more of Cassandra's hand in my son's life. And now that I know I have grandchildren, Layla hid, I'm terrified." "Here," Marcus said, tapping the folders. "All the medical records. I cared for Layla from pregnancy through delivery. These prove the children are Adrian's." He paused. "But it's not yet safe to show them." "Agreed," Mr. Alcott said, brow raised. "If we release this now, Cassandra will twist it. She has money and influence and Adrian's trust. We can't win a war fought before its time. Mrs. Hope's voice was clear. Then we become the wall. Until Layla and the children are ready, we stand between them and Cassandra. I won't let my grandchildren be toys in her hands. I'm here for Layla, Marcus said firmly. I know Adrian is hurt, but I can't let him live a lie. When the time comes, I'll face him. I'll handle security, Mr. Alcott added, flipping to documents. I've stationed people around Layla's penthouse. If Cassandra or her cronies try anything, we'll stop them. I've also placed investments in Layla's name, untouchable by Vaughn Holdings. She'll have her own shield. The door opened. Layla entered with a small bag, surprised to find the three together. What are you doing here? She asked, anxiety flickering. Mrs. Hope smiled and guided her in. We're here for you. You don't have to fight alone. Layla sat, hesitant. I know you all love me, but what happens when Adrian finds out? Will he think I deceived him even more? Marcus spoke first. You didn't deceive him? I was your doctor. When the time comes, I'll say so in front of him. Cassandra can't change the truth. Mr. Alcott nodded. If she uses the media, I can counter. I have my own network. All we need is timing. Layla looked at the coffee cup on the table, then smiled through a fragile sadness. Thank you. I don't know how I'd survive without you. I did what I thought was right, keeping the kids away from the mess, but sometimes I'm afraid I chose wrong. Mrs. Hope took her hand. You loved my son before he was powerful. Your heart never looked at his money. As a mother, you did what was best for your children. That can never be wrong. They planned past midnight. Marcus would be the medical and evidentiary shield. Mr. Alcott, the business and security pillar. Mrs. Hope, the family bridge Cassandra couldn't sever. Before parting, Mr. Alcott raised his cup. To 3 children with Vaughn blood, and to a noble mother who fought alone. Their cups touched, a pact not easily broken. Outside, a watcher snapped photos from afar, one of Veronica's people. He sent them to Cassandra. They're hiding something. Cassandra smirked. Perfect. When the wedding comes, it'll be easier to crush Layla. We'll wait for the right moment. That night, Layla returned home, holding the twins' hands, and her eldest's. They slept without knowing the weight their mother carried. In her heart, one promise stood. As long as I breathe, I won't fail you. One day you'll see. Your mother didn't run. She fought. Back at the Vaughn mansion, Cassandra worked on her plans, unaware that the wall built by Layla, Marcus, Mr. Alcott, and Mrs. Hope would be the very cause of her downfall. When Layla stepped into the ballroom with the 3 children, time stalled. Guests who moments before were taking pictures and chatting fell silent. The violins halted. Only the soft steps of the children on the red carpet could be heard. Adrian sat at the front by the altar, a white handkerchief in hand. When he saw the 3 children approach, it slipped from his fingers, as if the weight of the world had dropped with it. He stared into their eyes, the same shape, the same depth, the same light as his. No, impossible, he breathed. The little girl, cream dress tied with a ribbon, looked straight at him. The twin boys in blazers smiled, puzzled. As they drew nearer, the likeness became undeniable. They're Layla's kids by another man, Cassandra suddenly cried, leaping from the altar's side. She tried to make the moment normal, but fear quivered in her voice. Don't believe what you see. This is just a show to ruin our wedding. No one spoke in her defense. Murmurs rose. Uncanny. Those twins are Adrian's mirror. Look at their eyes. Vaughn through and through. Layla walked with head high, a queen down the aisle. She stopped at the center and gently led the children to the altar. "Daddy," the eldest said, voice clear, "why is there another woman beside you?" A bomb exploded. Guests gasped. Pearls and fans were clutched. Disbelief hung thick. The child's question sliced open an old wound Adrian had buried. "No, sweetheart," Adrian answered, voice shaking, words failing. Before he could say more, one of the twins spoke, gaze steady. "Why are you lying, Daddy?" "We see your picture in Mommy's room. She told us to love you even when you're not here." Silence. Even the chandeliers seemed to witness the fall of a long-standing lie. Cassandra rushed forward, plastering a smile. "Darlings, you're mistaken. He isn't your daddy. Dr. Marcus is. Your mother lied." Her hand trembled around the bouquet. Guests who once believed her now doubted. Mrs. Hope rose. "Don't drag children into your lies, Cassandra," she said sternly. Adrian remained seated, struggling to breathe. He saw the children, the eyes, the stance, the smiles, and remembered Layla's playful dream by the beach long ago. "I want triplets." And the youngest a girl, he had laughed. "And I want all our kids to take after you." Now the dream stood before him, real and breathing. From the back, a guest couldn't hold it in. "If they aren't Adrian's, why do they look exactly like him?" Applause broke out in pockets, some guests acknowledging Layla's courage. Cassandra hurried up the steps, gripping Adrian's arm. "Don't be swayed. You don't know what she's planning. She's here to wreck us." Adrian gently pried his arm free, eyes on the children, tears brimming. Layla stood before the altar. "I didn't come to ruin your wedding, Cassandra," she said, voice steady. "I came because I refuse to remain a victim of lies. These children carry your blood, Adrian. No one can hide that." The three children moved to her, clutching the hem of her gown, as if to testify themselves. The grand celebration had turned into a courtroom. Lies began to crumble. "If it's true," Adrian managed, voice shaking, "why didn't you tell me? Why hide them?" Before Layla could answer, Cassandra cut in. "She kept quiet because she's hiding things. I told you, they're Marcus's. Can't you see? She's been playing you." No one listened to Cassandra. All eyes turned to Adrian. The children waited for his next move. With each heartbeat, he felt the truth grow louder. "Desperate theatrics!" Cassandra screamed, her voice cracking. She strode toward Layla and the children. "You shameless woman! You ruined my fiancé's name. Now you barge in to ruin my wedding." Her voice boomed. Guests frowned and whispered. "Ruined!" Layla repeated, her throat tight. "Cassandra, I never ruined Adrian. You did. You tore us apart." Cassandra faced Adrian, gripping him as if to cage him. "Remember, she deceived you. She hurt you, she and your doctor friend." Adrian stared at Layla, doubt clouding his eyes. Years of lies had built a wall no single moment could topple. Before Layla could speak, Dr. Marcus stood. "I won't let you keep lying, Cassandra," he said, voice ringing down the aisle. He walked forward in a black suit, eyes blazing, not for himself, but for the defense he owed Layla. Layla never cheated. I was her doctor through her pregnancy and at the delivery. Not the father of her children, but a physician and a friend. You crafted those lies and ruined Layla in the eyes of the man who should have loved her. The floor seemed to tremble with his words. Guests who had believed Cassandra glanced at one another, doubt spreading. If Cassandra were truthful, why was Dr. Marcus so bold? Cassandra advanced, almost nose to nose. "Do you even have the right to speak? You stood between us from the start. You broke their friendship." Marcus's smile was cold and steady. "I didn't break it. You did." You toyed with trust. Now you use children to shield your greed. One of the children piped up, innocent yet true. That's not true, Aunt Cassandra. Uncle Doc helps us, but Daddy is the one in our pictures at home. He's our real father. A collective breath drew. Layla stepped toward Cassandra. You've stepped on me for so long, made Adrian believe I was the villain. But now truth is here. You have nothing left to hide behind. Cassandra doubled down, voice rising. Lies! All of it. This is a scheme to steal the Vaughn name and money. From the side, a few guests clapped, soft at first, then louder. Bravo! An elderly businessman called. At last, someone speaks the truth. We've known your intrigues, Cassandra. Applause spread. Adrian heard it, heard the support for Layla and Marcus, and doubt crept into his heart about the woman he had taken for truth. Red-faced, Cassandra shrieked, You won't humiliate me! I won't give up! Marcus approached Adrian, stopping a few paces away. I've been your friend since we were boys. I never betrayed you. I looked after Layla and these 3 children. Now look for yourself. Not at me, not at anyone else. Look at your own blood. The hall held its breath. Adrian's eyes glistened. Layla stood with her children, steadfast, though trembling. Cassandra smiled a desperate smile. Marcus was ready to give up everything for the truth. This was no longer a wedding. It was a trial. The bride was sinking into her own lies. Mrs. Hope rose, each tap of her cane carrying the dignity of a long, silent mother. People looked to her for a final verdict. Cassandra, she said, voice firm, enough. She pulled a thick envelope from her handbag, neatly folded, and raised it for all to see. I've kept the truth you tried to bury. Tonight, before everyone, it's time. Paper rustled louder than the whispers as she opened it. The projector meant for the wedding montage lit up, not with prenup photos of Cassandra and Adrian, but with medical results. DNA test result, the screen read. Below it, 99.9% match. Adrian Vaughn is the biological father. Gasps crackled through the room. Oh my God, it's true! Someone cried. So Marcus isn't the father. Another added. How was this hidden so long? Adrian stared, hands shaking, breath short. A DNA test? He asked his mother, barely able to meet her eyes. Mrs. Hope nodded and stepped forward. I ordered it myself, Adrian. I took samples when they were infants. I knew words would never be enough. I waited for the right time. Here is the evidence, undeniable, unspinnable. She faced the crowd. They are my grandchildren. They are your children, Adrian. I kept them secret, not to steal the Vaughn name, but to protect them from this woman. She pointed at Cassandra. Cassandra flushed, nearly dropping her bouquet. Fake! Those documents are fake. You made them to humiliate me. Few believed her. How could they be fake if the hospital issued them? A socialite challenged. And Mrs. Hope. She wouldn't stoop to lies. Layla stepped forward with the children, tears in her eyes, voice soft. I never wanted them to grow up without a father. I stayed quiet because I couldn't gamble their lives in this circus. Thanks to Mrs. Hope, we have proof now. You can't step on us anymore, Cassandra. The children stared at Adrian, waiting. He rose, trembling, eyes on the documents, then on their faces. Everything he had believed for years crumbled. For so long, he whispered, I didn't know you. And it was my fault. Before he could draw near, Cassandra screamed again, If they're really yours, why did she hide them? Why didn't she tell you? Mrs. Hope's gaze cut to her. She hid them because you would have used them. Look at yourself. You're clinging to lies even as truth stares you down. Enough. Your time is over. Dr. Marcus stepped between them, Adrian, I stayed quiet out of respect for Layla and your mother. But hear me now. I never had a relationship with Layla. I'm a doctor. I'm your friend. And these children, yours, not mine. Applause rose again, louder, stronger. The ballroom felt like a court, and Cassandra, once the adored bride, looked like a defendant with nowhere to run. "No! I won't let this happen!" she shrieked to no one listening. Adrian sank to his knees. "Mom, why tell me only now?" Mrs. Hope cupped his face. "Because you weren't ready then, son. Because the poison was too deep. But now you've seen proof. No more denial. The question is, are you ready to accept them?" Tears fell as he looked at his children. For years he'd been convinced the woman he loved had betrayed him. Now the 3 living proofs of their love stood before him. In an instant, the wind shifted. A wedding turned into the downfall of deceit and the rise of truth. Cassandra stood stunned while Layla and the children became the symbol of what had been hidden. The ballroom froze again. Adrian gripped the altar's edge, trembling, eyes on Layla and the children, shock mixed with doubt. 3 children, he whispered. "If they're mine, why did you hide them, Layla?" "Why not tell me?" Guests watched Layla. Adrian's question struck like a hammer. Cassandra slid in, hand on his shoulder. "See? If she loved you, why keep them from you? Because she's hiding something." Layla's tears shimmered, but her voice held. "I didn't keep them from you because I was guilty. I kept them safe because you stopped listening. Every word I spoke back then, you wouldn't hear because you chose Cassandra's whispers over my voice. How could I prove I was pregnant when you couldn't even meet my eyes?" Adrian pressed his fingers to his temple. Arguments from years past crashed against his heart. On the screen, Cassandra thrust forward new evidence. Photos of Layla and Marcus at the hospital. Close, whispering, Marcus's hand on Layla's shoulder as he held a newborn. Forged documents with signatures. A marriage contract implying Layla had wed overseas. "Proof," Cassandra announced, brandishing her tablet. "She married someone else." "These kids aren't Adrian's." Noise erupted. "A marriage? Then Layla deceived us," someone gasped. "How can she be an ex-wife if she married another man?" Eyes whipped from Cassandra to Layla. Adrian sat, sweating, head in hand. He didn't know where to stand. "Layla," he whispered, voice fraying, "how can I trust you when everything seems like a secret?" Marcus spoke again. "I'm in those photos because I'm her doctor," he shouted. "They used me to smear her." "Adrian, you know I'd never betray you." But murmurs grew. Doctor or not, they look close. "You can't blame Adrian for doubting." Cassandra smirked, waving the tablet before Adrian. "See? I've told you the truth all along." Layla stepped forward, trembling but resolute. "Adrian, listen to me. Not everything you see is true. Not every paper is real. Don't you know me? In all our years, when did I ever lie to you?" Adrian closed his eyes, silent. One of the boys came to him, holding a little locket. He opened it to show a tiny photo. "Daddy, it's only Mommy and us. We don't know any other man. Why won't you believe her?" Silence held for a beat, until Cassandra sneered, "Scripted lines. They're just kids. Easy to coach." People flinched at her cruelty, though some still wavered. Marcus couldn't hold back. "Cassandra, how far will you go? Photos, documents, fake. If Layla truly married abroad, where are the county clerk's records? Why bring all this out now?" "I didn't want to ruin today," Cassandra said, feigning tears, "but she barged in with children. If I don't defend myself, we'll all be humiliated." Adrian bowed his head. "Layla," he said again, voice shaking. Why did you hide them? Why not tell me? Layla's grip tightened over her heart. It was time to speak, though she knew some eyes would remain blind. I did it for the children, she said, crying but steady, so people like her couldn't use them. I spared you too, even when I was the one left behind. My only sin was hiding them because I feared the world you lived in. Whispers softened, some were moved, others doubted still. Adrian's mind wrestled, evidence on a tablet versus the ache in his chest. Cassandra smiled, certain, as long as she held her proof, she would win. But what she held would doom her. At the center of the ballroom-turned court, Layla stood, pale, wounded, unbroken. Cassandra, no matter how many photos and papers you flaunt, you can't erase my children's blood. You can't forge their faces, their eyes, their smiles, their marks. Then why appear only now? Cassandra shot back. You just want the Vaughn wealth. The crowd hummed. Why now? If she loved him, why not earlier? Layla's voice finally rose. I didn't come for money. I came to stop you. I've let you be for so long. But now that you're using my children, I won't be silent. I won't let them be victims of your greed. Mrs. Hope stood again. I ordered the DNA test. I saw the truth. Cassandra, you know nothing but lies. Cassandra's laugh was brittle. Easy for you to fake, Mrs. Hope. Everyone here knows you're biased toward Layla. Doubt flickered, but the tide had turned. Enough! Some guests shouted, clapping. For the first time, Layla faced Cassandra head-on. You won't scare us anymore. If you want to fight, I'm here, but remember, your lies will choke you. Cassandra burned with fury. She went for the cruelest weapon, the children themselves. She crouched before them, smiling with venom. Darlings, her voice oozed sweetness, don't be fooled. He isn't your daddy. Isn't there an uncle always with your mommy? He's your real father, Dr. Marcus. A cold wind seemed to cut through the room. The twins looked at each other, confused. The eldest burst into tears. No, that's not true. Adrian saw the panic and his heart twisted. He stepped toward them, but his feet were leaden with hesitation. Layla, he asked, trembling. Why is she saying this? Cassandra, how dare you use children? Layla snapped, voice shaking as she held her crying daughter's hand. There's nothing worse. Cassandra only smiled like a queen on a crumbling throne. Use? Or tell the truth? Ask the children, Adrian. Who are they with more? You, or the doctor, always by their side? Whispers rose. She has a point. If Marcus is always there. But what about the DNA test? Others countered. Adrian pressed his fingers to his brow and looked at Marcus. Tell me the truth. Why are you always with them? Why do you know them better than I do? Marcus stood firm. Because I was there when you weren't. I helped when you threw Layla away. But remember, they're not my children. I'm a doctor, your friend, the guardian of your family. Don't let Cassandra soil the truth. The crowd split, some with Marcus, some sliding into Cassandra's trap. Layla nearly shouted, Children, don't be afraid. What she says isn't true. Your real father is Adrian. No lie can change the blood in your veins. The eldest, tearful, edged toward Adrian. Daddy, I'm confused. Aunt Cassandra says you're not our father. Is that true? It was a knife in Adrian's chest. He froze, speechless. Cassandra's grin widened. See? Even the children doubt. If he were really their father, there'd be no hesitation. Who will they believe? A stranger, or the man who's been there since the start? Stop, Layla pleaded, voice fraying. There's nothing worse than wrecking innocent minds. Cassandra crowded closer, nearly laying hands on a small shoulder. Look at Adrian. When did he show up? When did he stand for you? Isn't Marcus the one always present? He's your father. Mrs. Hope slammed her cane. Lies are all you know, Cassandra. Children, don't listen. I am your grandmother, and Adrian is your father. But not everyone was convinced. What if the DNA test is fake? Some still muttered. What if Mrs. Hope is biased? Adrian stared at his children as if they were strangers, his face broken. Layla, pale, stood before him. Don't give in. Can't you see she's using them? If you yield now, she wins, not just over me, but over your children. He said nothing. The weight on his chest and the noise in his head were too much. Cassandra, feeling victorious, turned to the crowd as if already crowned. See, friends? Even Adrian can't answer. Deep down, he knows they aren't his. When all this collapses, I'll be the one left standing. The ballroom heaved with tears, whispers, anger. Cassandra shrieked her lies, but Adrian suddenly stilled, as if something tugged his cheek. He stepped closer to the twins and noticed a small mark behind each ear, a tiny birthmark shaped like a between crescent, a family trait. He gasped, "No, this can't be coincidence." He moved to the eldest and found the same mark. His knees buckled. That mark, the Vaughn mark, stamped their blood. He remembered being teased in school for the strange mark behind his ear. "Enough, Cassandra," he said, standing, voice thundering through the hall. "You can't fake blood. You can't fake my children's faces." The guests erupted. "He's right." "Look at them." Cassandra blanched, clutching her chest. "No, it can't be." Friends drifted from her. Veronica and Lynn slipped away, unwilling to be caught in the fallout. "You have no allies left," Mrs. Hope said coolly, cane in hand. "You were built on lies. Now you fall into your own cracks." Adrian approached Layla and the three children. His hands trembled as he stroked his eldest's hair. "Forgive me," he whispered through tears. "Forgive me for all the years I wasn't there. For the nights I didn't hold you." The children threw their arms around him, crying. "Daddy!" Layla, wounded but relieved, couldn't stop her tears. "If only you'd believed me sooner." Adrian took her hand. "I failed you. But before everyone, I promise, I won't let anyone break our family again. I'll make up for lost time, for you, Layla, and for our children." Applause surged, not whispers of doubt, but claps of agreement. The wedding that Cassandra thought would be her coronation became the grave of her deception. Shaking, she stumbled toward Adrian. "Adrian, don't!" "Don't believe them. I'm the one who stood by you. Choose me." He turned away, holding his family. "It's over, Cassandra. I won't let my name, or my children, be soiled by your lies again." People peeled away from her. No one approached. No one defended her. Humiliated, Cassandra ran from the ballroom like a queen whose crown had shattered. In the roar of applause, Adrian embraced Layla and their children together. The tears on their faces were no longer of pain, but hope. "I love you," he said softly, yet clearly. "From now on, you won't be victims of my failures, but proof of my amends, my love, our new beginning." Layla smiled at last. "Just don't let us go again. That's all I ask." "I won't," he answered, kissing her forehead. The chandeliers, once cold, seemed to gleam warmer, joining the new chapter of the Vaughn family. Guests filed out, each carrying the tale of a wedding none would forget. The fall of lies, the triumph of truth. At the center of that ballroom stood Layla, Adrian, and their three children. Not victims anymore, but a whole family. Irvin parked immediately and called out, "Boss! This is the second time I've seen you with my woman. It's even more suspicious that you brought her to a private place," Broderick said. "She's my sister," Irvin replied, surprising him. "I lost her years ago when I ran away from home, but I'm glad I found her now." "What exactly am I supposed to know about this sister of yours?" Broderick asked. He suspected Amy might be hiding things from him, things she would reveal only to her brother. "We haven't really spoken much. I only confirmed today that she's my sister, and we plan to meet again soon," Irvin said. "Drive," Broderick ordered, and Irvin pulled away. "What's her real name?" Broderick asked suddenly as they drove. "I don't believe it's Cleo." "If she's truly your sister, you should know." Brett searched the North Hill Citizens database, but her name isn't there. Her parents can't be reached either. Irvin knew Amy wanted him to keep her identity secret from everyone. Even so, he had learned to tell Broderick only the truth. He had never lied to him. Lies breed distrust, and loyalty is the greatest virtue in the underworld. "Boss, her name really is Cleo," Irvin said. "Our lives are complicated, and we haven't had a long talk yet, so I don't know much about her. But one thing is certain, she's my sister." "Do you remember the penalty for lies? If I ever find out you lied to me, I'll kill you," Broderick said. Irvin sighed quietly. Broderick told him to drop him at his main house. After Irvin did, he drove away. Meanwhile, one of Michael's men had been secretly watching Amy. He overheard Amy and Irvin's conversation and reported everything to Michael. Michael tailed Irvin and, when Irvin's car was almost at B.A.'s house, rammed him from behind, forcing Irvin to slam on the brakes. Furious, Irvin punched the side mirror and the driver's window, shattering the glass. Michael, the driver who had hit him, was stunned by Irvin's temper. As soon as Michael stepped out, Irvin grabbed his collar. "You bastard! How dare you hit my car? You'll pay for this. My name is—" Michael began. Irvin slapped him hard before he could finish. "I don't give a damn who your forefathers are. You'll pay $20,000 for the damage, or I'll kill you and bury you right there." Michael held his burning cheek. How can anyone's temper be this high? He thought, sighing. "Maybe I should give my men the go-ahead to kill your sister," Michael said. Irvin squinted, trying to make sense of the threat. Seeing he had Irvin's attention, Michael leaned against his car with a smirk. "What sister are you talking about?" Irvin asked. It seemed impossible that anyone knew he had a sister. He had only just confirmed it minutes ago, and had told no one but Broderick, and Amy wouldn't tell anyone. It had been barely an hour since they parted. Amy Owen," Michael smirked. Irvin was stunned. Not only did this man know who his sister was, he knew Amy wasn't dead, and he knew her real name and surname. Who the hell is this man? Irvin wondered. You must be wondering how I know, the man said. Anyway, my name is Michael Alessandro. From the Alessandro family? That's right, Michael replied. Let's not waste each other's time. I have a deal for you. You fulfill your part and I'll fulfill mine. He smiled. What deal? Irvin asked, standing firm. Michael looked strange, but Irvin wasn't afraid of him. In North Hill, the only person he feared was Broderick. Anyone who truly knew Broderick knew he was someone to fear. Irvin even considered Amy lucky to be close to him, or perhaps Broderick hadn't revealed 100% of who he really was. The man was too powerful and mysterious, both in the underworld and across other major continents. I want to marry your sister, Michael said. I've already asked for her hand. Although she's obligated to accept my request, she's delaying for reasons best known to her. Still, it's important that I marry her as soon as possible. If you can persuade her to accept, I'll give you a blank check. Write any amount you want, and if what you want most isn't money, name it and I'll grant it." "I have more money than you," Irvin said. "You have no idea who I am. My sister has the absolute right to marry whom she wants. I can advise her, not force her. From the way you've presented yourself, I don't think you're a good man. If my sister marries you, you'll only cause her pain. For the last time, ask for whatever you want and I'll grant it," Michael said. Irvin smirked. "Are you threatening me?" "I feel like killing you right now." He wanted to pull his gun but didn't dare point it at Michael, who might be Broderick's brother. He didn't want to offend Broderick by disrespecting his brother. He needed to know whether Broderick was on good terms with Michael before deciding how to handle him. He doubted it. Amy was Broderick's woman, yet Michael wanted to marry her. He would confirm it himself. "You can't blame me for being ruthless," Michael said. He waved his hand, and a bullet pierced Irvin's back. Irvin collapsed. Before he could groan, Michael clamped a hand over his mouth and shoved him into the trunk. Michael already had men stationed around the area with guns. He had told them to shoot Irvin the moment he raised his hand. He took Irvin's phone, texted Amy, and wrote, "Someone is kidnapping me. Please go to Michael Alessandro. He's my secret friend. He'll find me. Don't tell anyone I was kidnapped, so the kidnappers won't kill me before you find me." Michael closed the trunk, switched off Irvin's phone, dropped it to the ground, and crushed it under his shoe until it was unrecognizable. "Amy, I wasn't joking when I said I came to North Hill to make you mine," Michael said. He got into his car and drove away. Around 7 p.m., Amy woke from an evening nap. She sat up, blinked against the light bulb, and casually checked her phone. Seeing a message from her brother, she smiled, thinking Irvin had sent the time and place for their next meeting. She had been dying to know when she could see him, the only person she could now call family. Her smile vanished when she realized he had been kidnapped. What? Didn't he seem mysterious and powerful? How could he be kidnapped so easily? Learning that Michael was Irvin's friend surprised her. She immediately called him. While the phone rang, her heart pounded. She prayed nothing would happen to her brother. After years apart, she had just found him. How could this be happening? She was frantic. Michael answered in a calm voice. "Is this Amy?" "Oh my, I must be lucky to get your call today. How are you, Amy?" "Mr. Michael, please, we need to talk," Amy said. "Amy, is everything okay? You sound distressed," Michael asked, feigning concern. "I'm not fine at all." "Where can we meet?" "Hold on. I'll come pick you up myself. Promise me you'll be okay until I arrive." "Just come quickly, please," Amy pleaded, getting out of bed. "I'll be there in a jiffy," he said, and hung up. Amy showered quickly, changed into a decent outfit, and stepped outside to wait for Michael. For reasons she couldn't explain, she didn't want him to set foot in her room. That's why she waited outside. A sports car sped in, and Amy ran toward it. The driver's door opened, and Broderick stepped out. "Hey, Amy," Broderick smiled. "See? I've got a beautiful gift for you today. Guess what it is?" He hadn't noticed the distress on her face, though he sensed she was about to go out. A Land Rover screeched to a stop. Michael stepped out. He and Broderick exchanged a hard, malicious look. "My woman, come quickly," Michael said deliberately. Amy ran to him, completely ignoring Broderick, and slipped into Michael's car. Michael shot Broderick a wicked smirk, got into his car, and drove away. Broderick thought he was dreaming. He pinched himself and looked around to make sure it was real. Amy had ignored him as if he were nothing and run to Michael, then climbed into his car so quickly. What was happening? He stepped back, utterly confused. Amy had left him for Michael? Last he remembered, she had no feelings for Michael. What had changed? He was furious with Michael, but hurt even more by Amy's behavior. Didn't Amy get jealous when he talked about other women? She didn't want him with other women, yet she ran to another man. Worse, his own brother. He was livid. Are all women the same? Pretending to love you while cheating behind your back. That was exactly how his late wife had been. Broderick pounded the body of his car again and again until the metal bent. He was so hurt he didn't know what to do. Michael hadn't forced Amy at all. She had gone to him of her own will. Broderick laughed hollowly, like a man losing his mind. Had she really fallen in love with Michael in just 2 days? Bitch! Fucking bitch! He cursed Amy and punched his car again. He leaned against the door and swore he would wait until Amy returned. She couldn't be sleeping at Michael's place. Right? It was past 7:10 p.m., already late. How could she go to a man's house at this hour? Broderick called Brett. The moment he picked up, Broderick ordered, "Miss Cleo and Michael left Miss Cleo's apartment a few minutes ago. Find out where they went and report back to me." "Sure, sir," Brett said. Broderick stayed there with his arms folded. The image of Amy leaving him and getting into Michael's car replayed in his head, stabbing his chest with a sharp, unbearable pain. A few minutes later, Brett called back. "Sir, Mr. Michael's car is at his mansion, and one of my boys confirmed that Amy went inside with him." "Are you saying Amy and Michael are under the same roof right now?" Broderick asked. "Yes, sir," Brett replied. Broderick ended the call. "Fucking Michael, are you begging for death? You destroyed my company and now you're taking my woman?" Broderick muttered, seething. He laughed bitterly. "Who dares take the woman of the most powerful man in North Hill and the most powerful man in the underworld?" he shouted, then got into his car. He turned the key, ready to do something reckless, then switched the ignition off again. He would wait. Amy wouldn't sleep over. She couldn't. He had always seen her as a virtuous woman. She wouldn't be as immoral as his late wife. An hour passed, then 2. By 10 p.m., Amy was still nowhere in sight. Broderick didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Another hour crawled by, and another. Midnight. He wanted to slam his head against the steering wheel. The pain inside him was excruciating. He could feel it across his whole body. "You fucking immoral woman. You're just like my late wife," he muttered, shoving the door open. He dared not drive. He'd only end up crashing. "I gave you a car worth millions. I declared you the woman of the most powerful man in North Hill. I gave you value. I'm even ready to do anything for you, yet you left me for another man, huh?" He laughed, though his heart bled. Or had she gone back inside and he'd missed her? He walked to Amy's door and found it locked from the outside. "Fucking Miss Cleo!" he shouted, loud enough that neighbors heard him in the quiet night. He laughed again and returned to his car. "Miss Cleo left me for my own brother, and even slept at his place, huh? What would they be doing now? Probably having sex?" He slapped his forehead with his palm. His heart felt too heavy. Why not just confirm it? Maybe he was overthinking. He dialed Amy's number. No answer. "Pick up the call, bitch," he snarled and dialed again. This time someone answered, followed by a sound that humiliated him. A moan. "Oh my gosh! Oh, fuck me harder, Michael. Fuck me. Oh my, this is hot. Fuck me, Zaddy. Oh yeah, spank that ass. I'm loving it." Broderick roared like an angry beast and hurled his phone into the darkness. Tears streamed down his face. He stood there, empty and weak, like a man who had lost all strength. Rain began to fall, a heavy wind sweeping in with the cold, but Broderick was too broken to leave the spot. As soon as Amy slid into Michael's car, guilt pricked her. She had walked away from Broderick without a word. She should at least have told him she would see him later. She considered opening the door to go back and apologize, but Michael was already behind the wheel and the engine was running. Only when the car was moving did he glance at her. What's wrong? Amy sighed. Mr. Michael, why did you call me a woman? Are you trying to make Mr. Broderick angry? Angry? Of course not, Michael said. You've been my woman since we were kids, and you still are. I'm not bothered about Broderick at all. Amy turned to the window, upset. Broderick was probably angry about the way she had behaved. The truth was, when he appeared, she hadn't been thinking. She only wanted to find Michael, the one person who might help her save her brother. Still, she should have acted more rationally. She almost called Broderick, then decided she would meet him tomorrow and explain everything, though she would have to hide the fact that her brother had been kidnapped. Are you angry? Michael asked after a few minutes of driving. Please stop calling me your woman, Amy said as politely as she could despite her irritation. Don't ever call me that again. Michael said nothing else until the car pulled into his mansion. If he was angry, so be it, Amy thought. If she didn't need his help, she wouldn't be here. She got out and he led her to the living room. They sat. So, Amy, tell me what's wrong. I promise to help if I can, Michael said calmly. Before Amy could answer, a maid arrived with a tray and 2 glasses. She offered one to Michael, then moved toward Amy. I'm not in the mood for a drink, Amy said. Amy, I insist. It will help you relax, Michael urged. Amy didn't trust him enough to accept. No, I'm not drinking. Fine, you can leave, Michael told the maid. As she turned, a glass of wine tipped and splashed onto Amy's blouse. Gosh, Amy gasped. The wine was icy and the weather was already cold. Michael hurried to her side and then rounded on the maid. How can you be so careless? You're fired. Please, sir, please, the maid begged. Get out and send in the chief maid, he ordered. She scurried away, muttering under her breath with a small smile. Mr. Michael is so clever. I'm sorry about that, Michael told Amy. The chief maid will help you clean up. The chief maid soon appeared, breathless. Sir, I'm here. See to my guest. Her clothes are stained, Michael said. The chief maid nodded. Please follow me. She took Amy by the hand and led her away. A few minutes later, Amy returned wearing one of Michael's shirts. The maid had managed to wash her blouse, but since there were no women's clothes in the house, she'd asked Amy to wear the shirt while the blouse dried. I hope my clothes dry quickly, Amy said as she sat. They will. And I'm sorry again, Michael replied. It's fine. The chief maid is a nice woman, Amy said. She drew a breath. Mr. Michael, I received a disturbing text from my brother. He said he'd been kidnapped. I think he sent it secretly before the kidnappers took his phone. Hold on, you have a brother? Michael asked, feigning surprise. Yes, I found out only a few days ago. Please don't tell anyone, Amy said. Of course. Your secrets are always safe with me, Michael said. My brother also wrote that he's a secret friend of yours. I don't know what he meant by that. Are you friends with him? Amy asked. I don't even know who you're talking about, Michael said. Irvin. Do you know him? Amy pressed. Irvin, Michael repeated. Irvin is a very good friend of mine. Don't tell me he's the one who's been kidnapped. He is. If you can help him, please, do, Amy pleaded. Of course I can, Michael said, taking out his phone. Before dialing, he paused. Amy, helping Irvin won't be a problem. Then please do it quickly, she said. Michael studied her. I keep helping you, but you never reciprocate. Why do I feel like you're taking advantage of me? Mr. Michael, don't see it that way. Isn't it right to help a friend in need? Amy asked. You mean your brother? You haven't kept your side of the promise you made to me when we first met, Michael said. Then he added, if you can agree to marry me now, I'll get your brother out in no time. Mr. Michael, are you serious? Yes, I am. I don't want to be a fool anymore. At least grant me the only request I've ever wanted, Michael said. You can't force someone into marriage. If we marry and I don't love you, do you think we'll last? Would you be happy marrying someone who didn't love you? Amy asked. I'll be happy marrying someone I love. It doesn't matter if you love me back or not. Over time, I believe you'll fall in love with me, Michael said. You must read a lot of romance novels. This is real life, Mr. Michael. Ask for anything else, except marriage, Amy said. Will you grant it? He asked. Of course I will, Amy said, assuming he wanted money she could somehow raise. Are you sure you'll grant my second request? Michael asked, staring intently at her. You have my word, Amy replied. For the third time, will you? Mr. Michael, I will, Amy cut in, anxious to hear what he would ask. Spend a night with me, Michael said quickly. I know it sounds ridiculous, but that's my only request besides marriage. After that one night, I'll let you go and never bother you again. It will hurt to let go of the woman I've loved all my life, but I'll live with it. Amy smirked. Are you joking? I'm very serious. You're asking a mother of 6 to have a one-night stand with you? I don't know whether to laugh or cry. Mr. Michael, your heart is full of immorality. Amy! Don't call my name, she snapped. She wanted to storm out, but she couldn't, not when her brother's life was at stake. Then consider marrying me, Michael said. If you can't grant either of my 2 requests, I can't help you. Amy shut her eyes, lost. She was at a crossroads, and worst of all, she couldn't tell anyone what had happened to her brother. Michael stayed quiet, certain she would compromise for her brother's sake. After 30 minutes, Amy finally faced him with tearful eyes and a heavy heart. I agree to marry you. A smile spread across Michael's face. Amy, oh my God, you really agree to marry me? You can't imagine how happy I am. Amy looked away, sad. How would she manage with her 6 children? Michael had said he could care for them. But would Broderick even allow her to have the kids? No man could replace their real father. Broderick, why did she have to be trapped like this? She glanced at Michael, beaming with joy, and her hatred for him deepened. She hated him with a passion. So can you have my brother released now? Amy asked. Not until we've had our grand wedding before the world, and I put the ring on your finger as proof that we're a couple. After that, I'll make sure your brother gains his freedom, Michael said. Mr. Michael, are you out of your mind? Amy screamed, then bit back her anger. I already agreed to marry you. Why would you leave my brother with kidnappers? What if he's killed before the wedding? They won't hurt him, trust me, Michael said. These kidnappers really want to kidnap me. If I show up and let them take me, they'll free your brother. They caught him to get at me. If I have to sacrifice my life because of your brother, it had better be worth it. You'd risk your life for my brother? Amy asked, shocked. Michael put on a sad face and nodded. I'm not doing it just for him. I'm doing it because I love you and your family. I'll do anything for you. Can't we go to the police? I can't bear the thought of you dying, Amy said. Amy shook her head. I can't bear the thought of you dying, and I can't bear the thought of my brother dying either. She did hate Michael now, but that didn't mean she wanted him dead. This is beyond the police, Michael said. If we involve them, your brother will be killed in no time. Don't worry about me, Amy, and don't ask why one of us has to die. Irvin will explain it someday. He kept his gaze lowered, then lifted his eyes with a pained, pitiful look. A tear gathered beneath his lashes. He forced a sad smile and wiped it away. It's hard, living with the thought that I'll die soon. Amy sighed. If marrying him was the least she could do, so he would risk his life for her brother, then she would. She rose and sat beside him. I know how you feel, and I'm sorry. It's a terrible thing to live under a death sentence, she said, threading her fingers through his. I'm sorry for forcing myself on you again and again, Michael said, looking deeply into her eyes. I just want to experience love before I die. Swayed by his practiced charm, Amy rested her head on his chest and wrapped her arms around him. Please don't be sad. I'm here, she murmured. Michael held her, elated. At his subtle signal, the chief maid, waiting on standby, stepped in. With a quick gesture, he told her to take a photo. The maid snapped a picture of Amy with her head on Michael's chest. Amy, intent on comforting him, noticed none of it. After half a minute, Amy drew back. What date will the wedding be? I want you to choose, Michael said. I won't force you anymore. You've honored me enough by agreeing to this. Any date you pick is fine. I have the money to make it happen any time Amy's thoughts went to her children and their father. What she felt for Michael wasn't love. It was pity. Pity that he would soon die for her brother. Maybe, after Michael's death, she could return to Broderick and the kids. But what if, in the time she was married to Michael, Broderick fell in love with someone else? She would have told Broderick everything, but Irvin had warned her to keep it secret so he wouldn't be killed. Amy didn't know if she was being wise or foolish, or if she'd regret this later. No, you choose, she said at last. Let's have the wedding as soon as possible so I can see my brother again. We only just reunited after more than 20 years. I don't want to lose him. Then this Saturday, Michael suggested. Is that all right? Okay, I already have a wedding gown, and you said you can arrange everything quickly, right? Sure, Michael said. Amy, can you stay over tonight? Why? I'm so sad, he said, shaking his head. I keep thinking the kidnappers will kill me, and it gives me nightmares. I promise nothing intimate will happen. I just want the comfort of knowing you're nearby. It will help me sleep. I'll drive you home very early in the morning. It isn't right to sleep here when we're not married, Amy said. Please, just this once. It's only one night, Michael pleaded. Thinking of the fact that he might soon sacrifice his life for Irvin, she agreed. After all, it was just a night. All right, Amy said. Oh my, thank you so much, Amy, he breathed. A couple of hours later, Amy fell asleep. Minutes after, her phone began to ring. Before it could ring again, Michael picked it up. Seeing Broderick's name on the caller ID, he beckoned the chief maid and whispered for her to pretend she and Michael were in bed. He answered the call on Amy's phone and handed it to the maid, who immediately began to moan loudly, as if in the middle of sex. Irvin had been declared missing in the underworld, and the news had just reached Broderick. He hadn't needed Irvin's services for a few days, and had simply assumed he was working below as usual. Learning that his second-in-command was missing stunned him. Broderick immediately ordered a search. As he sat deep in thought in his office, a knock sounded. Come in, he called. The knob turned. When he saw Debbie, he rose from his seat and walked toward her. Hey, Debbie. I thought you'd be doing your assignment with your sisters right now, Broderick said. Dad, it's been 2 days and Miss Cleo hasn't shown up. Did you have a fight with her? Debbie asked. Although the kids were still talking with Amy on video calls, they preferred her physical presence. Debbie didn't bother asking Amy why she hadn't come to visit. She knew who to talk to. She believed that if she spoke with Broderick Alessandro, he could make Amy come over. Fight, Broderick repeated. He considered lying, then changed his mind. There was no reason to lie to the little one. Actually, Miss Cleo and I had a disagreement. I knew it, Debbie said. Dad, please try to make peace with her. We really want to meet Miss Cleo. You like her that much? Broderick asked. So much. Maybe because she looks like Mum. We all want her around. In fact, if you can make her come stay with us, I'll be so glad. Debbie said. Okay, for your sake, I'll think about settling things with her, Broderick replied. Debbie hugged him and left, and he returned to his work. Miss Cleo is a fucking slut, he muttered once Debbie was gone. 3 nights earlier, at Amy's place, he had finally left around 1 a.m. He let the rain beat him from midnight to 1 before getting into his car, drenched and shattered, and driving away. Since then, he had blocked her number and tried hard to forget her. Some relationships must be abandoned for the sake of one's mental health. His relationship with Amy was one of them, but his children were desperate for a mother figure. Maybe he should find them one. Whenever he thought of Amy, he remembered her moans while she had sex with Michael, and the pain in his chest would be so sharp it left his body weak and his head pounding. His phone rang. It was his head of security. Sir, a man is here to see you. What's his name? He calls himself Mr. Michael Alessandro, the guard replied. Broderick fell silent, squinting as he wondered how Michael had the nerve to come to his house. Let him in, he said, and hung up. Michael was his blood relative and not someone he could easily get rid of. The Alessandro family extended far beyond Broderick, Michael, and Nell. Many relatives had left North Hill to settle in the world's most developed countries. They were all powerful business magnates. The death of either him or Michael would bring them swarming to investigate. He didn't fear them, but even if they couldn't harm him, what about his 6 children? Also, Michael's grandfather knew Broderick was the god of the underworld. Though the old man and Michael weren't on good terms, and the man had left North Hill in his youth, he still returned once a decade for what truly mattered. If his grandson died, and it was revealed that Broderick had killed him, the grandfather would fight for Michael. If not for Broderick's 6 children, his greatest weakness, those people combined would not be worthy of his concern. He had a plan for dealing with Michael at the right time. Until then, his hands were tied. Still, if Michael crossed him now, he would let him taste hell. Broderick walked into the living room just as the sitting room door opened. Michael stepped in carrying an enormous bouquet and approached the couch where Broderick stood. Brother, he said with a slight bow. Broderick sat. Sit. Michael held out the flowers. Please accept this from me. Why? I regret everything I've done. I let my emotions control me and forgot we're brothers. Why should we be enemies because of a woman? It doesn't make sense. I want us to be friends, please, Broderick. Michael said, his face arranged in sincerity. We're not enemies because of a woman. That's too petty. You and your father did worse to me when I was young. Do you think I'll forgive you? Then why haven't you taken your revenge since I returned to North Hill? Michael asked. You'll find out later. There's nothing to find out. You can't hurt me. Deep down you still love me as your brother. Why keep acting like enemies when we secretly care for each other? Michael said. Keep your miserable flowers. I'm not accepting that nonsense, Broderick said. Michael sat. If you think I love you, you're deceived. Love? You? Of all people, Broderick shook his head with an angry smirk. What do you want? Broderick, you and your father hurt me too. Why act like a saint? Let's forgive each other and live peacefully. Let's rule North Hill together and prove to that fucking bar that we can be more powerful than him. The Alessandro family has always aimed to be the most powerful in North Hill. The two of us are geniuses. You can't imagine what we could do, Michael said. Broderick stared at him, memories of the pain Michael and his father had caused tightening his fist. You deserve death. Michael frowned. Broderick, I'm not interested in proving anything to Bar. You destroyed the family company. You didn't even consider the staff. Many of them are now unemployed and looking for work, Broderick said. He had already finished erecting a new building in Bar's name. Michael set the bouquet on the floor, reached into his suit jacket, and produced a card. "Please take this," he said, handing it over. Broderick accepted it, and Michael sat again. It was an invitation to Michael and Amy's wedding, 3 days away. "Why give this to me?" Broderick asked. Michael smiled. "It would be a great honor if you showed up on our wedding day." "Please come," Broderick smirked. "You brought it yourself to see how I'd react." "Miss Cleo is a slut. Did you think I'd be upset that you're marrying such a promiscuous woman?" Good luck with your marriage, Michael was pleased to learn. Broderick now saw Cleo in a bad light. It seemed Broderick had already given up on her. Perfect. Now he just needed to blacken Broderick in Amy's eyes so she'd forget him. Then he could have Amy to himself forever. He planned to leave North Hill 3 days after the wedding to avoid Barr, who claimed Amy as his woman, and for one more reason. "I'll be glad if you come, Broderick," Michael said, then left with a smile. Broderick shut his eyes for a few seconds. It felt as if his heart had stopped. Shouldn't he have forgotten Amy by now? Why did it hurt so much to know the two would be married on Saturday? So that promiscuous woman agreed to marry him? He thought, pained. He lacked the strength to stand. He slumped into the chair, thinking of how he first met Miss Cleo. A knock sounded at the door. "Who the fuck is that again?" he shouted. He was having a terrible day. The door opened. Amy stepped in. She had tried to reach him for the past 3 days, but his number wouldn't connect. She wanted to apologize for how she'd treated him 3 days ago, but she couldn't get through. She hadn't wanted to come uninvited. She didn't want to look cheap, but thinking about him so much had begun to affect her, and she finally decided to visit. Just 30 minutes earlier, an anonymous text had said that Broderick's new love had brought him flowers, then asked if she knew. Broderick's new love? Had he already moved on? She drove straight to his mansion. As she pulled in, she saw a Benz driving out. Was the woman who'd brought the flowers the one leaving? Aside from loving Broderick, she didn't want anyone else to take the role of mother to her kids. When Broderick saw Amy, his face tightened with anger. Amy was just as angry. Had he really gotten engaged so quickly? Was it because of how she'd treated him that he blocked her number and found someone else so fast? Wasn't this the man who had planned to give her all the profits from the bar company project they were about to start? Yet he was punishing her for a single mistake. How ungrateful. Broderick looked away. Amy walked toward him calmly. Despite her anger, she didn't shout. She sat and said, "Mr. Broderick, congratulations on your new love," smiling as if she were fine with him loving someone else. What nonsense is she talking about? Broderick thought. He leaned back, crossed his legs, and said, with a smile, "And congratulations on your wedding this Saturday, with my brother." Amy was shocked he already knew. Since she was marrying into the Alessandro family, it made sense he would find out early. "Thank you," Amy said, smiling, though inside she hurt that he didn't care she was marrying his brother. Did he think this was her choice? "I'm surprised you came to see me," Broderick said. "What's your purpose?" "I'm busy." "Oh!" Amy almost choked on her anger. They hadn't seen each other in 3 days, and this was how he acted. He could at least have asked why she had decided to marry his brother. "I just came to..." She couldn't admit she was there because of the anonymous text. "To talk about the contract with Barr's company." "I'm not interested anymore," Broderick cut in. "You can handle it alone and keep all the money." "Why?" "I don't want to work with another man's wife. If Michael keeps seeing us together, he'll grow jealous and misinterpret our meetings. Also, don't come to my place again unless I invite you." "Are you sending me away now?" Amy asked angrily. "Everyone in North Hill knows I'm a man of principle. There is no way I would be comfortable with a woman who is a slut in my house," Broderick finished. Amy glanced around to be sure she was the only woman there. "Are you calling me a slut? I'm calling you a prostitute, a promiscuous woman. A cheat. Name it. You're all of them. You're just like my late wife, pretending to be loving while secretly cheating. Nothing surprises me anymore. All women are the same, Broderick said. Amy was confused. Why was he suddenly calling her that? You're calling me a slut because I'm marrying your brother, right? She asked with a pained smirk, looking away. I'm calling you a slut because you left me outside your house to go have sex with my brother at his place, Broderick said with a bitter smirk. You enjoyed it, right? He laughed, even as his heart hurt. Mr. Broderick, what nonsense are you talking about? I didn't have sex with anyone. It's true I left you at my gate, and I'm sorry for that. I was going through a lot and I wasn't myself. I've been longing to see you in person so I could explain and apologize. At Michael's place, we only talked about how he could help me, and then he begged me to sleep over to help stop his nightmares. I did, only because he said he would help me, Amy said. You slept over at a man's place when you're not married to him? Am I the only one who thinks that's dumb? Broderick asked. I won't sit here and let you insult me. I didn't sleep with anyone, and please stop calling me a slut. Amy stood, picked up her handbag, and prepared to leave. In this world, I never want to see you again, slut, Broderick said, furious that she didn't see anything wrong with spending the night at a man's place. Who does that and then claims nothing happened? Amy thought of her kids and hesitated. If she walked out, she might never see them again. Why was her friendship with Broderick becoming so complicated? Broderick, his head bowed, suddenly received a message. When he opened it, he found a picture of Amy resting her head on Michael's chest and hugging him comfortably. Michael sat across from Callan in the prison visitors area. Michael, it's been so long. When did you come back to North Hill? 6 weeks ago. How many months do you have left in jail? Michael asked. Just 3 months, but it feels like forever. I can't wait to get out of this fucking place, Callan said, shaking his head. Prison is not a nice experience at all. Callan, so many things have happened in North Hill since you've been gone. Is your family keeping you updated? No. I told them to stop visiting after I heard Broderick beat the hell out of the man I sent to deliver a letter to Amy. When I get out of prison, I'll claim her, Callan said, deadly serious. Broderick will never be able to stop me. Michael smirked and stayed silent. When Callan noticed, he asked, Why are you quiet? I'm marrying Amy in 2 days, Michael said. Callan felt as if he'd misheard. What did you say? You heard me. I've already planted a seed of discord between them. As we speak, they're beginning to hate each other with passion. As a longtime friend, I'd advise you to give up on Amy. In fact, 3 days after our wedding, I'll take her out of North Hill, Michael said. Michael, how could you do this to me? You know Amy is my wife. Your wife? Michael smirked. Amy left you a long time ago after she caught you cheating. Even if you get back together, the trust will never return. What is a relationship without trust? Amy is mine now, Michael said. Callan hummed angrily, drumming his fingers on the table between them. You betrayed me, bro. That's not betrayal. Amy and I were childhood sweethearts. I loved and knew her before you ever did, Michael said. Before I go, I'd like to tell you to expect a new friend soon, Michael added. What are you talking about? I've put a plan in place to set Broderick up. He'll be arrested and sent to jail. He can be your new friend, Michael said with a wicked smirk. Those 2 pieces of information aren't my main reason for coming here. Michael pulled a document from his suitcase and set it on the table, turning it toward Callan. The Alessandro family, my family, the Owens family, the mayor's family, and your family are partnering to build a company that will surpass Bars, the new most powerful man in North Hill. Since you're the heir to your family company, Your signature is required. Callan glanced at the document and then looked up. Who is Barr? The new most powerful man in North Hill. He's building the largest company in the city's history. We can't sit back and let him monopolize the economy, Michael said. So Broderick has fallen? Ha, ha. Interesting. I've missed so much. No wonder you could come between Amy and Broderick and end up with Amy yourself, Callan said. Sign the document, Callan, Michael said. Callan smirked. Why does that sound like a command? Michael, you're not even acting like we're friends anymore. Is it because I'm in prison? Anyway, I'll be out in 3 months. As for this document, I won't sign it. Why? When I get out, I'll review the project myself to see if it's likely to be profitable and whether it can withstand and surpass BR's company, Callan said. We can't wait for you. Barr has already begun awarding projects to many clans, and they'll all start work next month. Callan, trust me, I know more about business than you do. Back in college, wasn't it Broderick and I who always led the class? You weren't even consistently in the top 10. Face it, you're not as intelligent as I am, Michael said. I graduated with distinction and was the best student in my faculty. That's why our clan made me the heir to the family company. Don't assume I'm still as dull as I was in college, Callan said. Michael coughed and beckoned a nearby cop. The man hurried over. This man, Michael said, pointing at Callan, I want you to make his life hell in prison. Cause him as much pain as you can, he pulled out a check, scribbled an amount, $10,000, and handed it to the cop, who took it quickly when he saw the figure. Don't worry, Mr. Michael. I'll make him beg for death, the cop said. You! Callan pointed at the cop angrily. When you're ready to sign the papers, tell this cop. He'll reach out to me and I'll come over. After you sign, I'll tell him to stop punishing you, Michael said, rising. Hold on. Callan stood as well. I need you to pass a message to Amy. Can you do that? Depends on the content of the message, Michael said. Callan could hardly believe Michael was being so cruel. Back in college, Broderick, Michael, and Callan had been the flower boys, attracting all the girls' attention. They walked together and did everything together. None of them imagined they'd grow into enemies. Tell Amy to find C50 and open it, Callan said. What does C50 mean? Michael asked. She'll understand. But Michael, when I'm out, I'll come for you, Callan said. The cop immediately slapped him. You fucking prisoner! How dare you talk to Mr. Michael like that? The cop shouted. Callan wanted to slap the cop back, but about 5 officers rushed over and began beating him mercilessly. Michael slid the document back into his suitcase, ignored the scene, and walked out with calm detachment. He drove straight to Amy's apartment. After he parked, he got out and went to her door. He knocked several times but got no response. Then he realized the door wasn't even fully locked. He opened it gently and stepped in. Amy was sitting in a chair, fast asleep, her head resting against the backrest. Michael wondered why she'd fallen asleep like that. She could at least have gone to her room. He considered carrying her there. Setting his suitcase on the table, he bent to lift her, but as soon as his hand touched hers, she flinched and her eyes fluttered open. Michael stepped back, and Amy sprang to her feet. Mr. Michael, what are you doing here? She asked, startled to see him in her living room. I knocked repeatedly, but the door wouldn't open. Then I realized it was ajar. When I stepped in and saw you sleeping in an uncomfortable position, I decided to help you to your bedroom, Michael said. Amy disliked Michael so much that she never wanted him in her home, yet here he was. His presence made her deeply uncomfortable. What are you here for? Amy asked. Ouch, that's harsh. We're getting married in 3 days, remember? Michael said. I know. Amy sighed and walked to the doorway. Please step outside. Michael followed, puzzled. Amy, are you all right? You don't sound fine at all. Of course she wasn't. After Broderick saw a message of her hugging Michael and leaning on him, he shouted at her to get out. Amy didn't even know exactly what he'd seen that made him react so aggressively. While she tried to make sense of it, Broderick called his head of security to throw her out. Amy couldn't believe he'd do that, and before she could challenge him, the head of security appeared and escorted her from the mansion. If he hadn't respected her, he would have tossed her out much more harshly. Feeling miserable and confused, Amy came home and forgot to lock the door. She slumped into a seat and didn't know when she drifted off. We can talk here, Amy said with a sigh. They were both outside now. What? Amy, you don't want me inside your house? Why? You slept in my room 3 days ago and I never touched you. Do you think I'd rape you just because it's only the two of us in a room? Do you really think I'm that kind of man? Michael asked, sounding wounded. I just don't feel comfortable with you in my room, Amy said, looking away, not wanting to see his face, which suggested he was hurt. After we marry, we'll be under the same roof, probably the same room, Michael told her. I know. But until then, Mr. Michael, why are you here? As you can see, I'm not fine at all. I need to be alone. Okay, I'm sorry you feel this way. First, I want to tell you that your family and the Alessandros, my family, together with Callan's family, are joining forces to build what will be the biggest company in North Hill. We want our families to become the most powerful in the city, so we can dethrone Bia. He's a threat to every powerful family in North Hill. If he completes his mega company, he'll monopolize the economy, Michael said. My family and I aren't on good terms. You know that. I don't have a say in any agreement. You can speak to my father, Amy said. I already did, Michael replied. Work has begun among the 3 families. What we need from you is your skill. You're very talented in design and decoration. I read how you and Callan led your faculty in university. I can already tell you're gifted. We need you. We're gathering skilled hands for this joint corporation. You want me to join you? Yes. After all, you're the mayor's daughter. You should support your family's endeavor, Michael said. The same family that never supported my brother and me? Amy asked angrily. Your father sponsored you through college and university. How else do you define support? Michael asked. Amy looked away, thinking quickly, then faced him. Sorry, Mr. Michael. I'm not interested. I've already signed a contract with Barr's company and I'll be working for them. What? How much do you expect to earn there? If you join us now, you'll be among the next billionaires. Would you rather support an outsider and ignore your father's effort to build the city's biggest company? Michael asked. I'm not interested. I need to go back to my room now, please, Amy said, ready to go inside. Michael hesitated, debating whether to pass on Callan's message. Bye, Mr. Michael, Amy said, opening her door. Hold on, please, he said quickly. When she turned back, he added, Callan has a message for you. I'm not interested in anything he has to say. He said you should find C50 and open it, Michael said, watching her closely. Fuck C50. Bye, Mr. Michael. Amy went inside and shut the door. C50? Callan had told her about the place when they were married, and how dangerous it was. He had promised to take her there someday, to reveal secret dealings involving powerful men in North Hill, but she had never been interested. As soon as she heard Michael's car drive away, she opened her door again. Already dressed in black jeans and a denim jacket, she hopped into her car and headed for the area where C50 could be found. She drove into the bush and eventually reached a large gate. She parked and walked toward it. It needed a code to open. She tried many combinations, but none worked. The place was eerily quiet. What if someone appeared and hurt her? Suddenly she thought of Callan's birth date, entered it, and the gate slid open. Inside was a large compound. A decent-looking flat stood there, but her heart nearly dropped when she saw blood dripping along the pavement. She noticed many used and damaged weapons, guns, knives, and more. She quickly found a hiding spot and looked around for C-50. On a roughly painted wall, she spotted 05C and realized it meant C-50. A damaged car sat beside it. She ran over and hid behind the car. How could she open C-50 when it looked like a solid wall? But this was a secret place where the city's powerful men did hidden things. Everything here required cleverness. She tapped the wall and realized it wasn't real. Making sure no one was watching, she pushed the wall-like panel aside. As soon as she stepped in, it closed behind her. She suddenly saw a leg stretched out. She couldn't see the rest of the body. She ran closer, peeked, and her eyes nearly burst. Someone sat weakly in a chair, eyes closed. "Irvin!" she screamed. Irvin's eyes snapped open. He was so gaunt it was clear he'd had neither food nor water since arriving. Aside from the bullet being removed from his back, he'd received no treatment. Shocked to see Amy, he rasped with a dry throat. "Amy, what are you doing here?" He was afraid, thinking that bastard Michael might have kidnapped his sister too. Meanwhile, Michael parked in front of the Gate of Hell. That was the place's true name. When he stepped out and saw Amy's car, he wasn't surprised. He had finally decoded what Callan meant by C-50. "Irvin, is this where the kidnapper kept you?" Amy asked, hurrying, convinced it was too dangerous to be here. Irvin nodded and sat upright. "Were you kidnapped too?" "No. My ex-husband, Callan, told me to come here. I don't know how he knows about this place, but I guess I'll find out later," Amy said. "This place is too dangerous." "We need to leave," Irvin said, trying to stand with what little strength he had left. Amy almost cried for him. He looked so skinny. "Do you know the way out?" Irvin asked her. "I came in through that C-50 door. I don't think there's any other way out," Amy said. "Let's go quickly." They hurried to the C-50 wall. Amy tried to push it open the way she had when she came in, but it stayed rigid. It wouldn't slide. "I think we're stuck." "We need to find another way out," Amy said, and Irvin looked around. "I'm so thirsty," he murmured. "Gosh, if I'd known I'd find you here, I would have brought food and water. Just hang on, we'll find a way." Amy led him back to where he had been before she arrived, then searched the area for an escape route, but found none. Michael stood outside the C-50 wall. He knew for certain that Amy was inside with her brother. He didn't know whether Irvin had told Amy that he, Michael, was the one who had kidnapped him. If she learned that, it would ruin his plan. Michael knew Callan used to come here for dirty work, but he hadn't expected Callan to send Amy here. Why? Did Callan know he was hiding something? Furious, Michael called the cop he had bribed with $10,000. When the cop answered, Michael said, "Double Callan's punishment and send me your account number. I'll transfer another $10,000. "All right, sir," the cop replied happily. Michael ended the call. Michael summoned one of his nearby men. When the man appeared, Michael told him to go into C-50, get Amy out, and find out what Irvin had told her. As the man was about to enter, Michael called, "Andrew!" The man turned. "Don't hurt her," Michael ordered. "Got it, boss." The man entered a code on the C-50. The panel slid open and he stepped inside. When Amy saw him, her heart started pounding. She ran to her brother and whispered, "Someone just came in." Irvin sighed, unsure what to do. Andrew stopped in front of Amy. "What are you doing here?" "I came for my brother." "Please don't hurt him," Amy pleaded. Andrew's face was calm. He didn't look like someone who could hurt a fly. "I'll give you $50,000 if you let us go," Amy offered. "Please leave," Andrew said. "Please, let me leave with my brother." "No, please. I'm trying to be polite to you." "Leave," Andrew repeated. Amy knew she had no choice but to go. At least now she knew where her brother was. She whispered, "Don't worry. Michael is coming to save you soon." "Who is Michael?" Irvin asked. Then his mind flashed to Michael Alessandro. He hadn't known him, or even his name before, but on the day they met, Michael had told him. "I said get out!" Andrew shouted, making Amy flinch. "Michael Alessandro fucking kidnapped me," Irvin managed to say, furious. "What?" Amy screamed in shock. Andrew kicked Irvin in the back so hard that he rolled onto the floor in pain. "Keep your fucking mouth shut," Andrew snarled and kicked him again. "Michael Alessandro fucking kidnapped me. He's a bastard. Don't let him deceive you. Andrew pulled out his gun and struck Irvin on the head with it. Irvin collapsed, unconscious. When Amy started toward her brother, Andrew leveled the gun at him. "If you don't get out, I'll shoot you in the head."